It's clearly a different setup to the last time me and you were in a room together.
Indeed.
I've now fully clothed.
Looks really good.
Okay.
I'm happy to see that, especially since you haven't answered any of our post-op calls,
Girl surprise.
which is not good.
Why have you not answered their calls? How many caps do you own?
At least 100.
You left one at the clinic.
Did I actually? There you go.
We'll keep it as a souvenir.
Hello and welcome to Things People Do. This episode is brought to you by Manual, who are a UK's men's healthcare company, and they are also my new friends who have been helping me along my hair loss journey. I'm Joe Marler and this is Tom Fordyce. Hello, Tom.
Joe, it is always nice to see you, and you know that I notice little things, little changes in you, because that's the basis of our relationship. And I'm sensing, Joe, that today there is something different about you, but it's not yet visible to my eyes.
It's finally happened. Manual have sorted me right out and I've gone and got a hair transplant from them.
There's a lot more hair than there used to be.
Okay, well, that's not true. So it's not a lot more hair than there used to be. It's still the same amount of hair. It's just it's moved from the back to the front.
Yes, it has.
And it's obviously you're looking at it. I can see you staring at it quite hard now.
It's
like,
hard not to stare.
actually, what is that? Because it's just actually mini scabs and just a new sort of semi hairline. But it's not fully healed. But yes, I have had the hair transplant, mate. After a few months of, well, actually, it's probably been a lot longer than a few months. A couple of years thinking about it, and then a few months actually it being a genuine option for me. Yeah, I bit the bullet and went, let's get it done then.
In that case, Joe, I have a number of questions. And my first question around this is the why. What made you, Joe, decide after many years to get the transplant done?
Well, I actually remember the day, it was about 5 years ago, and me and Daisy had nipped away for a little break at a hotel called Coworth Park in Ascot or Sunningdale, somewhere up there. And we sat down after getting there, and I'd had a cap on, took my cap off, and she looked at me and went, ooh. And I went, what? She went, oh my God, your hair's like, I was like, what? She was like, it's, I don't know, it's out of nowhere, just sort of gone. So I've only just realised it's gone. I went, no. And then I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, you're right. It was a combination of hat hair, and it started to go thin through the mohawk. So it was from then that I was like, right, I'm going to have to start investing in a lot of headwear now. And that's where my love of caps started. But it was mainly to hide the fact that my hair was going. And then, I don't know, I just kept hiding it, because even around the house, I'd be wearing hats in front of Daisy and the kids at dinner, at bedtime. Like, I'd just have the hats on and then take it off last minute before going to bed. And they're like, why have you got a hat on at home? I don't know. I just had this self-consciousness of, I'm thinning. Like, my mohawk's gone. My sort of a part of my identity.
But that's the thing about your mohawk. So some people love their hair, but they don't have a distinctive look. When I think back, Joe, down the years to distinctive moments in your lid journey, the mohawk has been central to it.
Yeah, and the start of that, the reason I started out with a mohawk was because, I enjoyed the attention, like it was different to everyone else. It sort of put two fingers up to the usual public schoolboy image of rugby. It was just really fun. I found it as an easy way of expressing my personality, even more than punching people. And then it just sort of stuck. And then when it started to go, and I don't think it is just about someone who's been in the public eye or the image is based around a particular hairstyle. I think it's men in general that it is part of our identity, isn't it? The way we look and style.
Absolutely.
And for years, it's not really been. It's been frowned upon to sort of change or adapt that, isn't it? It's like, that's not what men do. You should just grow old.
Suffer in silence.
Yeah, just crack on with it. They're the cards you've been given. But I'm like, hang on. People like Manuel now are out there to change the things that we get self-conscious about.
So you went for an initial consultation at Manuel, Joe. I'm hearing rumours, and I'd like you to confirm or deny these rumours, that your follicles of your hair were, quote, extraordinary.
Yeah, the back ones are good. Yeah.
What makes a great follicle?
No, I can't answer that.
Did you know you had great follicles? You ever get that sense?
I knew that the back of my head was better than the front of my face. I mean, my head.
Well, yeah.
I knew that everyone would say, like, my best angle was the back of my head. And having spoken to people that had the procedure done before about what they do, and they're like, well, if you've got good hairs at the back, that's a good sign to then be able to shift them forward for you. I knew I had good hair, but to have it, affirmed to me,
It's huge.
it was quite pleasing, actually. Dr. Raja, who I went and met up in Harley Street for my first consultation, was great, put me at ease straight away, and then started drawing like a hairline on and all that lot. And then I was just listening to him explain the procedure and what would happen with it all and how to look after it and stuff like that. But also in my head trying to think, like, I just really hope this works and that you can just thicken up my mohawk. But I didn't say that out loud to him at the first time. That wasn't the first time. It was the second time, the second consultation where I saw him, where I went, look, mate, I don't really want the hairline. I just want the mohawk thickened. And his face, honestly, was like, what? We have never had this request before. What is the matter with you? But we can ask him himself later on about that reaction.
So, Joe, before you went in for surgery, how did you prepare your hair? What little tricks, what little things were you meant to do before the big day?
I didn't have to do anything.
What?
I didn't have to do anything. There was no preparation apart from there was no fasting. That was a worry. I was like, oh, have I got to not eat for 12 hours or something like that? There was none of that. I just had to wash my hair the morning of the procedure, and they take care of everything when you get there.
Right, let's get into the day itself, Joe. Arrival time, protocols.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock arrival.
9 o'clock arrival. 9:30 arrival. 9 o'clock arrival.
9 for 9:30.
Between 9 and 9:30.
So you got there at 10.
Yeah. I got up to Leeds at 9:30. They're all lovely. Jasmine met me at the reception. Gave me some water. Said sit there, wait there for Dr. Raja. He's going to come down, speak to you, go over the hairline that you've agreed, talk you through the procedure, talk you through the aftercare and how it's all going to work out. And yeah, that was it. Got up there, explained it all, cracked on, stripped off, put my gown on, and then assumed the position on the bed, mate.
Which was?
On my front.
Yes.
Head in the hole.
Oh, like a massage setup.
It was a massage table. Yeah, it was a lovely, comfy massage table. Quite wide, actually. Decent. I could fit both my arms on it. Music in the background. Nice and chilled. And then it begins. It looked like some sort of pen. I mean, please don't quote me as a doctor.
Got there in the end.
Please don't confuse me for a doctor.
I'm like, would though. I would.
I don't want you to.
Okay, I'll try my hardest.
Okay, don't confuse me for a doctor.
Okay.
But it looked like a pen thing.
A pen thing.
A pen thing. And then it just... Oh, that was it. So I'm lying down. Dr. Raja said, you'll feel a couple of sharp scratches when he was putting in the anaesthetic to numb it all. There was exactly that, a couple of sharp scratches. But after that, I couldn't feel a thing. Bear in mind, I was a little bit nervous going into it.
Sure.
Having spoken to a few teammates the day before, and they described it as horrific you're going to have to get your head in the zone for this one, mate, because it is the worst pain they've experienced. And I was like, what? This isn't good. Like, listening to this the night before going in, get in there. They were completely full of shit, or they had a really bad experience, because that's not what I experienced. Numb my head, chatting away, music in the background, and it was just like these little zzz, 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 just these little noises in the back of my head. Couldn't feel a thing apart from the actual noise of it all, but it was, I don't know, just really easy. And I think they were taking out all the follicles from the back of my head, or assessing the ones in the back of the head. I can't wait for Dr. Raja to come in and be like, you've nailed this, Joe.
Yeah.
Or,
well, we might tweak things a little.
yeah, or offer me a position in the practice.
Yes.
Do you think that's
Director
Yeah.
of the practice.
Thanks. So get all those the good hairs at the back, take them away, get them ready to then be fucked off in the front.
How are the nerves at this point, Joe?
No, it's all been eased
Really?
and chilled from the start. Honestly, mate, I was shitting it going in. I was like, I'm not sure. A bit panicky. People said this. The actual thought of drilling the follicles out and then whacking them in the front, that just sounds minging.
Does a bit.
It was the complete opposite. I want to sit here and say I'm being forced to say these things, but I'm not at all. I look at it and went, what are they all going on about? This was not easy, but it was I don't know. It was actually nice to have a few hours me time. That's what Manuel made it like. It was like, I was there for like 2 hours on my front on a massage table, just someone taking hair out the back of my head. Couldn't feel a thing. Half asleep, just chilling. Get up, have a croissant, get on, sit up, watch a film whilst they're putting the hairs in the top of my head, mate. I'm like, this is happy days.
What film do you choose in that circumstances?
I had a selection of Netflix, Prime, etc., anything I wanted, and I decided to go with Focus.
Oh.
Have you seen Focus?
No. Stars?
Margot Robbie and Will Smith.
What a pairing.
About being like con men, conning people and stuff. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Perfect.
It was just so easy, mate. Dr. Raja's like cracking on with his work at the front of my head. I can't feel a thing. Then his team come in and then put all the hairs they've taken in the back and put them in the front. And I can't stress enough, Tom, how genuinely easy and simple like Manuel made it for me. So, yeah, I'd highly recommend it to anyone that's thinking about it.
Well, Joe, we have some pictures that you sent us on the show's WhatsApp group. We're going to put them here on the screen. The face on the left speaks of terror.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right. I have described it as quite a seamless procedure for me that didn't really experience too much pain. That's a face that I've put on, and it's more of my head and nose and cheeks were sort of too big.
You squished them through the hole.
In that hole.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. That's less of a pain. It's more of a pantomime pain face.
You're too big for the hole.
Too big for the... Too big for the hole. And then this one was when I've obviously got off of my front and put on my back. How would you describe me in that? I look all right, don't I?
You look a little bit like you've put a handkerchief on your head, like you're a man in the 1950s who's taken the train to Bognor for the day on a hot day, and you're just relaxing on the beach with your knotted handkerchief on your head.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. It felt like I was on my way to Butlins because I was that chilled. Although I am a little bit swollen, that's not really from the procedure. It's from the weight of my head.
Face squishing, yeah. It is.
It's stuck in the hole. That was. I thought I'd keep you updated with it all, mate.
I would like, Joe, a comparison of the pain levels felt with other things you have experienced. So in this very studio, you once had some hair removed from your chest by Sticky Vicky, the wax specialist.
There's no comparison, mate.
What?
Like there is that.
Because that broke you, didn't it?
The agony
You were
of the
shaky for
chest
days.
wax. It's not even in the same league.
Okay. Next comparison. When you broke your foot playing for England against the All Blacks, approximately 1 calendar year ago.
Yeah, that was agony. It doesn't come anywhere near. Like the hair transplant, if the hair transplant on the pain scale is a 2, like the foot was an 8.
All
the
right.
chest waxing was a 9.5.
Okay. As I look across the desk at you, Joe, I see your magnificent sleeve of tattoos on your left arm. Tattoo versus hair transplant.
Tattoo, 7. Hair transplant, 2.
Really?
Mate, I can't stress enough how easy and simple it was. I didn't feel a thing. Aside from the anaesthetic going in, that was it. Even now, like afterwards, I'm like,
You look chipper.
the back of the head, it's not that sore, like it's scabbed over pretty well.
You're not bleeding.
Not bleeding. The first night there's a bit of blood on the pillow and that lot, but that's to be expected. They send you home with everything. They send you home with the saline solution that you got to keep your hair sprayed and cleaned with it all for every half hour and all that lot. So, but yeah, it's just been a really positive experience for me so far.
Well, Joe, you and I are not alone for this episode. We do have Dr. Raja joining us, who is the surgeon who performed your surgery. You feel ready to see Dr. Raja again?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
He's like, maybe he'll say differently. In fact, I think he will say differently. But we're like best pals.
Oh.
Although, at the second consultation, the day of the procedure, I was trying to like relax into it a bit more, get to know him a bit more, try and make him laugh and stuff. And he said to me, "You weren't this funny at the first consultation." And I was like, "That's because I was really, really nervous, and it was like scary, you know." And then you were just drawing on my head, so I didn't know what to do and stuff. But now I think we're like best mates. So yeah, I think let's get him in,
Let's get him in.
please, because I think he'll be able to help inform us and the listeners a little bit
I
more.
think so.
Just a little bit more with details.
Just on a couple of little things.
Because
You may have glossed over.
yeah, just a couple.
Yeah.
Let's get him in. Hello, Dr. Raja. Welcome to Things People Do. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Joe. How are you?
Ooh, it's just nice to see you again.
Lovely to see you.
I'm being serious. It's really nice to see you again. I'm worried that you're just faking it.
Oh. That's possibly a yes.
No, I'm not. I mean, it's nice of you to actually, show us how it's looking. It's been just over a week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Been a
So
week now.
Looks really good.
Okay.
I'm happy to see that, especially since you haven't answered any of our post-op calls,
Quelle surprise.
which is not good.
Why have you not answered their calls?
It's not that I haven't answered them. Oh no, it is. I've received the messages from Louisa, and I'm gonna ring her today.
Okay.
And I'm gonna apologise.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's one of those where you miss a call. You've experienced this, Ryan and Tom. Right, it happens a lot to producer Ryan, where you go, "Oh, right, okay, yeah, I'll get back to that," and then you crack on with what you were doing, and then you forget, and then there's too long a time that's passed by to get back to the person, so then you just don't.
Yeah, see, when that happens with things like, I don't know, friends or whatever, it's one thing, but when you've had a surgery, right, it's important for you to let us know how things are going. I had to come down here and see it for myself, so I'm now satisfied. But, it's really important, really important.
I'm sorry to you and Louisa
No, you don't need to apologize.
for
I think he does.
I am.
Yeah.
And I'm
Rightly
sorry,
so.
All right, Tom. All right.
I'm just embarrassed on behalf of the show. That.
What do you mean embarrassed? I just didn't pick up 2 calls, maybe 3. I'll get back to him. It's fine. Anyway, this is it's clearly a different setup to the last time me and you were in a room together.
Indeed.
I've like now fully clothed
Yeah.
because I just had a gown on.
Mm.
Oh, and shorts.
Did you remember to put the gown the right way round, or did you have the opening at the front? Like sometimes people make the mistake of thinking
No,
it's like an open neck shirt.
No, I'm no fool. I put my arms.
You've done this before.
Yeah, I've done it before in there. It was a bit tight though. And I don't think that was Manuel's fault. That was very much my fault. Maybe for the years of eating too many portions like that. Yeah, it's nice to see you without you drilling holes in my head.
Thanks.
Dr. Roger, I have many questions. As someone who's worked with Joe in a different format, what were the challenges with Joe's particular lid?
See, that's a really good opening question, because I'll take it from the top. And we had this chat in the morning as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because I got a call from my team saying that they have a celebrity client they wanted to discuss, somebody who's really well known, and he's obviously looking interested in a hair transplant. I said, yeah, fine, send me the details. And in the brief said specifically only wants mohawk, right? So obviously when I read that, for me, I've been doing this for a while, so there's certain red flags that you look out for, and what you're looking for particularly is when people have outlandish requests, you start to think, well, maybe something not right, or maybe their expectations are outside what we might be able to achieve. So it flagged up to me, and I said, well, look, I'm not quite sure about this. I'm not sure what he's after. I'm happy to see him, but happy for him to see somebody else if he wants to, right? And I think what happened.
Yeah, no, that was a polite way to fucking put me someone else. I ain't dealing with this shit.
Yeah, so what happened is he sort of did the rounds, and then it came back to me where I had another call saying, look, we've had an internal discussion. We really want you to meet this gentleman. I said, fine, let's get him in for a consultation. More than happy. And then I saw you here, obviously in the London clinic, and you came in. We had a good chat during the consultation. You were very quiet and
Nervous.
really
I
quiet.
was nervous.
Yeah,
I was scared.
it doesn't come across the kind of guy who'd be nervous or scared, But so in that consultation, you were very quiet. You didn't really ask any questions, which I thought, okay, fine. You're receptive. You listened to everything I said. And we talked about realistic outcomes from a procedure like this. We drew out a hairline, as you do, and that was it. And of course, we booked you in for the surgery. We did that in our Leeds clinic. But then obviously we met on the morning. And like he said earlier, you mentioned the mohawk thing. It came up again, right? So we had a good discussion on the morning about that, because I think, my reservations of doing a hair transplant where it can look unconventional, I'm very particular about that, because I've done so much revision work, repair work from bad surgeries. I'm really cautious about hairlines in particular and where they should be placed. But see, your case was unique because, like you said, the mohawk was part of your identity. Is really important to you, and you have to take those things into account. But I've got to balance that with what's going to get you a good result at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's where I was struggling to begin with, to understand of like, well, hang on, I'm sort of, this is what I want because it's my hair and I'd like it to look like this, and I hadn't really considered your side of things in terms of like reputation and the ability to make something look natural, because there's not many people out there that go, I just want a really thick mohawk because that's the haircut that I'm planning to have for a long time. And then until we had that discussion and you explained it to me, it sort of then made a bit more sense. But then me telling you that if you gave me a hairline that, really brought my hairline forward and got rid of the residos, ultimately I'd be shaving off those bits anyway to have a mohawk. And you were like, oh, okay, well that is then different, because it would be too obvious that you've had the treatment done. Is that what you're meaning by that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when you're planning hair transplants, hairline procedures particularly, what you want to do is you don't want to do something that's unconventional, because it gives the patients flexibility to actually style the hair how they want to, right? I think the exception there would be a mohawk, because what we talked about in the morning was if you ended up keeping the mohawk after, right, you're going to inevitably shave some of those hairs on the sides, and it will reveal the underlying scarring, because you do have some changes to the skin which can be persistent and long term. It's not entirely visible in all people, but it can be, and we've got a plan for worst case scenarios. So in my mind, I was thinking, well, if he ends up shaving that, that's going to be more apparent, and that can be a problem. And that's a kind of outside of the box thinking that you need to get good results with hair transplants. And I think what we did on the morning then is we revised the line and we brought it closer to where your existing line was.
Yeah.
And the goal was to increase the density rather than to do what we call an angle closure, where we actually bring those angles down. And I think, we were aligned on that. We drew it, we checked it several times, and then, of course, we went ahead and did it.
Is it true, Dr. Raja, because I think this is an important point, that Joe does have excellent follicles where his follicles exist?
What a compliment.
Yes,
I really hope. Please make that be true.
Actually, it is true.
Oh.
Because, yeah, it is.
Yeah, can I put that on my CV?
I think so. Put it
I
on your
have
social
good hair
media bio.
follicles. Thank you. If you ever need any. Oh, hang on. Just a quick one off piece.
I know what you're going to ask.
Can you give your hair follicles to people?
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many times I get asked that question. In theory, yes, you could, but it's, whoever you give it to, the body's going to end up rejecting those follicles because they're from somebody else, right? So
right.
It's a bit like an organ transplant. However, we can't justify having you on all these medications to dampen your immune system, and it's just not worth the amount of hassle it would cause. Yep. But yeah, in theory, yeah, it can be done if it's, if they're matched and whatnot.
Okay.
What makes a good follicle?
Again, very good question. I mean, two things immediately that we're looking at is the caliber of the hair. So the thickness of the actual hair shaft. So everyone's got a different type of thickness and character to the hair. They can be very fine, they can be very coarse, they can be wavy, they can be straight, curly, etc. If they're very fine hairs, that can produce problems when it comes to actually getting a good result from a transplant. The other thing, of course, is the ratio of multiple haired follicles. So every follicle graft that we extract can have 1, 2, 3, up to 5 or 7 hairs sometimes in rare cases.
Out of one follicle?
Yeah, so
Oh, wow.
It's like a little tiny bunch of hairs that come out from each one. In a good hairline procedure, we need a certain number of single-haired follicles to get you a natural-looking result.
Oh, I see.
I would have thought it'd been different. I
Yeah.
would have thought that if you transplanted some density,
Yes.
you're getting more bang for your buck.
Oh, is that why? I remember at one point during it, you were like, well, we need X amount more single hair follicles. Was it 100 or 200 more or something like that you said in it?
We did because, see, in your case, and it's interesting, because we kept the line as we did, normally the line's straighter, right? And again, you have to think about the physics behind this. Because there's more curvature to the line, it means that you need more singles because we need to get you a soft gradient, right? So, in my mind, I was thinking, normally you had about 250, let's say. In this case, we need maybe about 300 to 350, which we achieved quite comfortably. But your ratio of multiple haired follicles was very high. So you had loads of 3 and 4 haired follicles, and as far as I can remember, about 45% of all the follicles that we extracted were 3s and 4s.
Oh, nice.
And the ratio, usually it's about a third, right, on average. So it's much higher than the average. And what that does is gives us flexibility. I mean, it means we don't quite need to harvest as many grafts as we would for the average person. But in your case, obviously, we're working on density. So it helped us a tremendous lot, to get there in terms of getting you the density that you need.
It sounds quite a complicated process, Joe, from what I'm hearing.
What did my explanation of it all?
I liked it, but I just think we need a little bit of backup from the expert. In the
Do
room.
we?
Okay? Just a small amount of.
But I think I nailed it.
Well, let's find out.
Take the ones out the back, fuck them off in the front. Jobs are good.
What meat would you like to add to those bones, Dr. Raja?
Well, not quite that.
Right.
I mean, that's actually pretty much what transplant is. But in
Hang on, take care of it after. That's it.
Yeah.
Answer your phone when people from Manual call you to help you.
Yeah, maybe Dr.
with
Raja
the
needs to
aftermath.
help me. Yeah, go for it.
Depending on which clinic you go to, right? And, you'll get different depths of explanation, and there's a lot more detail into the procedure. There's a spectrum of clinics across the world, and in the UK, there's very low end. And, they may well do what you just described, right? And, that might be the doctor's understanding of how to do it, because there's a lot of clinics where the staff are not adequately trained. That's one of the major issues we have with hair transplant. But of course, there's some very, very good clinics in the UK and some really good surgeons as well.
So if I look to my left, Dr. Roger, I'm seeing what I guess is the immediate aftermath, because we are about a week in, aren't we, Joe? As the weeks and the months go by, Dr. Roger, how is the current setup on Joe's head going to change and look different?
So at the moment, we can see there's still some scabs in the recipient area, and this is entirely normal. It's quite good for just over a week, actually. But the scabs will shed by 2 weeks, and then you'll get some shedding of the hairs that we've implanted as well. Up until sort of 3 months, you tend to experience that, and at 3 to 4 months, you start seeing new hairs coming through. So usually they start quite fine, and then they get gradually thicker and thicker up until about 12 to 18 months. So I normally like to see about 6 months, just make sure everything's going in the right direction. We see again at 12 months, make sure we're happy with the outcome. And, in the rare event there's any concerns or something outside of what we're expecting, if we need to do a correction, we always look at that around 12-month mark.
So these are actual hairs that are going to grow in his head?
Yes.
So they keep growing. So Joe will be having haircuts with this new hair?
Absolutely. It's going to be, the only difference is, I would say, you might have a difference in the character of the hairs that we take and implant, because the ones that we take from the back are a little bit thicker than what you have on top. So if you compare them side by side, there's a slight difference in character. There's some skin changes which are very mild. You can see it's only gone a week and a bit. I can't see any differences really to the skin consistency at this stage. And usually this is when it's at its peak and it gradually heals, right? So, I'm pleased to say that procedure's gone really well and it's healing really well.
How many did we because I can't remember it, how many did we take from the back and then put in the front?
I think you had about 2,200 grafts.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And out of those 2,200, I'm guessing not all of them will take.
We expect at least 80% of them to take and to stay for life.
Yeah.
I would expect more than 90%.
Okay.
Unless there's anything in that procedure.
And the things that would stop them from taking are just natural rejection or not taking care of them?
Yeah, graft rejection is usually quite rare. And even if you do get rejection, it's usually a small proportion of the grafts rather than the whole thing failing. If that happens, there's something, quite significantly wrong. But common pitfalls and the reasons why hair transplants don't perform particularly well sometimes is usually down to bad aftercare management. Or if there's something underlying, like if you've got an underlying medical condition like diabetes, which is poorly controlled, there's a reason for it to not work particularly well, then, we would to some degree anticipate that. But for somebody who's fit and healthy, you'd expect them to take really well.
Joe, the love has been pouring in from our Patreons in the course of your hair journey. Message from Kimberly. Kimberly says, Joe is gorgeous with or without hair, but does he feel more confident now that it's done?
Thank you, Kimberly. That's really kind of you. Do I feel more confident? I actually do. Even though it's only a week out, I do. I don't know why, because I think me and Dr. Roger spoke when I was leaving. We were like organising how I was getting back, and I was like, I think I'm going to get a taxi back or get a car put on thingy. I thought that's what the process is. People have to get a car back and looked after. And they're like, no, a lot of people do that because they're too embarrassed or don't really want to go on the train, having just had a hair transplant, and people look at it and go, he's had a judgment. I was like, no, I'm not. I don't know why. I immediately felt like, no, I'm okay with that. I'm going to get the train back, A, because it's quicker, and B, because I'm completely happy and open with discussing having a hair transplant. It has given me a renewed confidence, I think. So, yeah, that's the best way I could answer Kimberly's question.
Well, Joe, that is an excellent answer. Kimberly also references the picture, Joe, the photo that is going to appear on the screen behind me. Her question about this photo, she says, the pic with a black T-shirt, you look quite emotional. Those emotions, Kimberly asks, Joe, pain, happiness, relief?
That is more of a that's a how do I describe that face? What have I done face? That's like, I've committed to this now.
How's it going to be?
It's not like that's been drawn on by pencil. Do you know what I mean? That's the actual direct after procedure photo, and I was like, well, this is it now. There's no turning back. Even looking at it now, I'm like, oh, it's quite nice to have that hairline in the thickness, even though the thickness is clearly just blood and scabs. It still made me feel good. Thank you.
You weren't supposed to be wearing a t-shirt at that point. But
Yeah, well, no, but that your team, your lovely team,
Yeah.
Minu
and Sunil.
and Sunil. Me and Sunil got on well, didn't we?
You did.
Sunil was great. I loved Sunil. They both helped. I was like, have you bought up a button shirt, which you were meant to? And I was like, no, I haven't. And they're like, right, okay. And they stretched the t-shirt over and both helped me do that one. And then I think I went to pick up my suitcase as well. And Minu was like, sir, you shouldn't be doing that. And I was like, why? She was like, gravity. I went, what? She was like, they're not like, you've just had it done. You need to just chill, calm down. Nothing too strenuous. So I think that's also a telling off phase where I've just been told off to say it's so important to look after your lid now. Otherwise, you're not going to get the best results.
So what does Joe need to do now, Dr. Raja, in terms of sessions with you, in terms of any other transplants, in terms of appointments? What's the plan?
Yeah, I mean, so we talked about medication before the procedure anyway, and we discussed that already, and that's an important part of the aftercare plan as well, because what that's going to do is going to slow down any ongoing loss to some degree. So we want to hold on to the existing hair as much as we can in a situation like this where we're trying to gain density. So we're all good on that front. The other part of it now is really, we're still quite fresh because it's only been a week and a bit. So once all the scabs have shed, you're pretty much back to your normal routine. As long as you're careful with it and you don't do anything which is going to cause any shock or damage to those follicles that have been implanted, i.e., playing rugby and smashing into somebody else. I don't know, like knocking your head on something really high intensity. That could cause damage, right? Or any injuries potentially. But as long as you're careful with it, you'll be fine. There's certain precautions, like, we tell people not to have prolonged sunshine exposure because the skin will be a little bit sensitive. So we don't want sunburn and things like that. But just follow the aftercare, and we'll see you at the 6-month appointment. So I'm quite confident. I don't need to be reviewing him unless there's any issues. We have an open follow-up policy. So obviously, if you had any problems, you just get in touch with us, and I can see you and have a look at it. But I'm already really happy with the way everything's healing.
That's good, because sometimes I get a bit of a telling off for not taking things seriously enough. But the package you gave me on the day that I left, with my saline spray, with the stuff for the pillows, with my neck pillow, so that's the only thing that's maybe spiced things up in the wrong way at home with Daisy, is the fact that I've had to sleep sitting upright with my neck pillow, so that I'm not rubbing out the hair and all that sort of stuff. And I snore like a motherfucker. Like,
that's a peak snoring position as well.
Yeah, it's peak. She's like, "Are you fucking shitting me? You've got to sleep for how long?" I think it's just 7 nights, and we'll just sit maybe a bit longer. She was like, "Right, this is fun, isn't it?" So that's the only thing. It's spiced up my marriage in the wrong way.
Well, I mean, you seem to have followed everything as it should have been. Everything looks good. How was your swelling? Settle down, or?
I didn't really get it. There was only one moment, I think it was like 2 days after, where my forehead was a bit, I was like, oh, just giving that. And then I pressed my finger in the middle just out of interest, whether it was thinking, and then there was just this massive indent, and Jasper and Maggie were like, "Oh, what's on your head?" I was like, "What?" And it was just a bit of swelling there. But compared to all the other pictures that I'd seen of people that have had it done, I think I was quite lucky with...
Really mild.
Yeah, it was really mild. So, yeah, it honestly has been a dream. Like we spoke about beforehand, that I'd spoken to a couple of teammates and they'd said it was horrific and all that lot. And clearly they went to somewhere else. They weren't involved with Manuel or yourself. So... But the way they described it, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about doing this. And it couldn't have been further from my experience of it all.
Yeah.
It's just been great so far.
No, I'm glad to hear. I mean, we're really careful with swelling. because patients are worried about how it's going to look afterwards. So for me, it's been years of learning how to make it more discreet, make it more palatable for the patients. And thankfully, almost all our patients, just like yourself, they don't really have swelling, which is anything like what you see in the media. People having really big heads after a hair transplant, and we've all seen the pictures, right?
Yeah. There's that one on a plane where you've got like 11 or 12 different heads as you're looking down the plane, and they've all been strapped, and they're just like huge like domes on their way back from Turkey, and you're like, oh God, that's not exactly like appealing for me to go out there.
Yeah, not ideal. So these little things that count towards getting a nice procedure, and actually we try and make it as enjoyable as possible. That sounds weird, but I'm sure you had a good day with us, right?
Oh,
We had a
mate,
good laugh.
yeah, exactly. The whole thing, because I know people will be going in there really nervous, like I was, and the difference it makes when you lot just put me at ease and relax and make it as comfortable as possible, made it as easy as possible for me, and it sort of like flew by. Like we can have a laugh, have a chat, get to know each other a bit like that. It was just, it made it a lot easier for me. It was really, really great. So thank you for that. I do have, now that I've had the transplant, will my hair last forever?
So the ones that we've implanted, we'd expect them to stay for a long time. We usually say, like I said, about 80% at least on average. We'd expect them to stay for life. The issue you're going to have is your existing hair that we've implanted alongside, because that will follow the normal cycle of loss. So depending on how you're going to progress with your hair loss, you may lose those hairs over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And that's where the medication comes in to try and help you retain that as much as possible. So yeah, you will lose hair, but we factor that into the plan that we made for you on the day. So if you do need another procedure, you're good for it. But the goal for me is to try and lengthen that period as much as possible. So hopefully, it won't be for the foreseeable future, or anytime soon. But if and when you do need another procedure, you're done at areas in a really good position. And, I'm sure we can see on the camera, it's just gone a week post-op. It's healed to the point where you can't really even see anything's been taken out.
Yeah.
Which is exactly how it should be. So a very safe harvest. And yeah, I think you'll be fine if you do need anything doing later on.
I'm starting to get my head around this, Joe. This is genuinely life-changing. Right. For starters, you almost always, in the time we spend together, wear a hat. What are you going to do with your hats? Are you going to still wear hats?
Daisy has mentioned this to me. She went, well, you can start selling your hats now.
How many caps do you own?
At least 100.
At least 100.
At least 100.
You left one at the clinic.
Did I actually? There you go.
Yeah, I was going to post it to you. I'm not going to send you it now. You've got that many.
You've got 100.
We'll keep it as a souvenir.
I've got that many that I'm not even bothered about leaving one in Leeds. Do you know what I mean? No, you keep that one, mate, because I'm not going to need it. I don't know. Obviously, I'll wear a cap occasionally because I like a cap, but I will wear them less in order to hide what's going on there. It is life-changing. Actually, saved me a fair bit of money as well.
In terms of caps, yeah. But you'll be spending money, Joe, in a place where you haven't been spending money for some time, and that is the barbers. You're going to be going back to get haircuts.
No.
Because you could do it yourself at home.
Daisy will do it, yeah.
Okay. That's even better.
Yeah, she'll look after it nicer for me. Maybe I'll go to the barber, treat myself. If I do want like I guess I know we've gone with the mohawk, but even like the compromise we've had, maybe I could just have like a normal hairstyle as well. A confident. What should I have? Like what about Kaniki?
Yeah,
from Greece.
From Greece, yeah.
Maybe I grow the front and then like twirl it round and then spray it on. Actually, on that, I used to dye my hair a lot. What are your thoughts on me bleaching grafted hairs?
Don't do anything yet.
Okay.
Right. Until the result comes through. We'll have a look at it together.
Okay.
And I'll give you some options.
Oh, so there is a possibility.
Yeah, but not yet.
But not yet. Don't rule it out.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're still very early days. If you use a harsh chemical bleach, it could damage the graft. So, there are some ways around that. There's other products we could recommend, but we'll give it 6 to 12 months at least, and then we can have a look at it for you.
So So, Dr. Roger, Joe's looks really good. It looks like it's been successful so far, and he will now start answering his phone to manage the aftercare. What advice would you give anyone else thinking about having this process, and why should they, if they want to explore this opportunity or this idea, why should they go to manual?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're experiencing hair loss, whether it's at early stages or whether you feel it's too far gone, the first thing you got to do is reach out. And we're more than happy. I mean, I see hundreds and hundreds of pictures, on a monthly basis. I get them coming through to me all the time. People have submitted the pictures, and I comment, and my team will then go back and discuss it with the patients. So we can give you advice on what we think would be, and for me, every single one that I see is just do I think I can deliver a good result with a transplant? If it's a yes, then we recommend a transplant, and if it's a no, then we'll go back and offer some advice, right? But we don't take on patients where we don't think we're going to get a good result. And when I started with manual, one thing I really love about manual is we have that ethos. We're aligned on it. There's no pressure to bring patients through the door, and they sort of let me own the theatre and the clinics the way I foresee them being, transparent, honest facilities where, people feel comfortable and they feel like, I mean, I treat my patients how I would want to be treated in a consultation. I think that's really important. And, somebody like yourself, Joe, when we had that discussion, like you said earlier, you were nervous, even though, you're really well known. There's a lot of people who would see somebody like yourself and they would feel inspired as well. We do a lot of celebrity patients that not necessarily that keen to, come out into the public for various reasons. But when they do occasionally, and somebody like yourself is public about it, I think it gives people a lot of reassurance because they feel like, they can identify with that. They're not alone. So yeah, I mean, my advice would be obviously reach out first, and we'd be more than happy to see you for a consultation. And at least you have the options. And I always recommend my patients to go to a few different clinics because, we might not be aligned with what you're looking for. Somebody has unrealistic expectations. We might tell you what you necessarily don't want to hear, right? But it's going to be in your best interest. And I think that's where the importance of ethos comes in. And I feel manual has that ability and is really big on that prospect. Yeah.
It takes nothing to actually reach out and get a consultation sorted. At least then you can explore the options available. And that's how I felt, like sitting there, having a chat with you, knowing what could work for me, what won't work for me, and then being able to make an informed decision on the back of it is so easy.
Joe, all the way through this, we have discussed the stigma around hair loss. So how are you feeling now? You've addressed it, you're challenging it. Where is your head?
Yeah, I'm happy to crack on, and if it makes someone else think twice about reaching out and doing something about it that's affected me. It affected me loads. I didn't ever think it would, but speaking to a lot of other men as well, how much thought they put into, oh, does my hair, even you, Tom, you come to me and you go, oh, maybe I'll consider it. I'm feeling a bit like it's getting, it's something we talk about quite a lot. Yeah. And I feel happy and comfortable that if I can help someone else gain a bit more confidence to go out there and do something about it, then yeah, so be it.
Yeah, actually, here's something I've been wondering, Dr. Raja. So we've talked about Joe doing it. Can women get hair transplants as well?
Yeah, they do. They do. Obviously, the bulk of our patient caseload and the vast majority of people we treat are men because they suffer from male pattern hair loss. But the principles of the transplant are the same. You get female pattern hair loss, which is much less common. Or, you get things like traction alopecia where, if they're pulling their hair back tightly over a number of years, then they can get a receding hairline for that reason. It's not quite the same as what you see in men, but, those are the kind of situations of, hairline corrections. If they want to do a forehead reduction procedure where we can actually bring the hairline lower. So, the procedure itself, in principle is the same, but the considerations are different. We do them. And not as frequently as we do with men, of course, but yeah, we do. I've got one coming up soon, actually.
Tom, now that I've started my hair growth journey, as opposed to hair loss journey, which started a few years back, I reckon there must be some listeners out there, like our demographic. There's going to be some listeners out there that are in the same boat as me.
I think so.
You know, they're thinking about their hair, quite conscious of it all the time, wearing a shit ton of hats like me. And if you're listening to this and you're one of them, just reach out to Manuel and book a consultation and join me on the journey together. Maybe we could go through this together. If there is anyone out there, maybe we should get them on, like the next pod. If they've gone through with it, they've gone for a consultation, gone through with the procedure, I reckon we should get them to reach out and get them on to the next pod. Then we can share our hair journey together. Thoughts?
Joe, I like it. I like it as well because, get this, Manual are offering Things People Do listeners 10% off their hair transplant when they book their surgery with Manual. The link, Joe, will put it in the episode description, or you can simply use the promo code Joe Marler, all one word.
That's my name.
10% is quite a lot, isn't it?
That's my name.
Exactly.
Is it in capitals or mini letters?
Purely in capitals, no mini letters, not a single mini letter.
And no...
In Joemarler, Joe Marler.
And no space?
No space.
10% is massive. That's a decent discount, I reckon.
And also, Joe, if you go in for a consultation, you can simply say the words, Joe Marler, to get it.
In that voice?
Joe Marler.
They don't have to use the silly voice, but just using my whole name with no space is going to get that discount.
So if you're interested in exploring further, click the link in the episode description now.
Dr. Raja, first of all, thank you so much for making my hair transplant procedure so seamless and actually enjoyable.
That's a pleasure.
You and your team, I had lots of fun there.
Likewise.
It was easy, and I just felt so relaxed from the minute I got there to the minute I left. So thank you so much for that.
Most welcome.
And also thank you so much for coming on the pod and putting some meat on my bones. Because,
Thanks for having me.
I thought I explained it pretty well. Tom thought otherwise. Then you explained it better. And then I realised I agreed with Tom.
And we're all happy.
Thank you.